Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Allison Kinnear, Women's Empowerment Coach. And today we are talking about when life throws work off balance. There is a lot of talk in corporate America about work-life balance. A lot of people in tech and in law and in other industries, they really realize that work-life balance is important because people will leave if work demands too much. There's a great resignation that kind of feeds into that people are like, I'm reprioritizing things in my life, right? However, a lot of companies will try to increase work life balance by bringing life stuff to work. We will bring more amazing meals to work, or we will bring fun events to do with your coworkers to work. And so that way you get to enjoy these things in life, but you still stay at work. But what happens when life throws things off and you cannot, like, work becomes harder to attend to, harder to focus on, harder to be available to on a 24/7 kind of basis, like many people in corporate worlds are? And what happens then? What happens when life makes that work life balance, like the rubber really hits the road? Because this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing this with my clients, I'm seeing this with friends and family, where life is throwing curveballs. People, broken bones or death in the family or various wide range of things. And so I wrote an article about it on LinkedIn last week. I'll put a link in the comments below. And then yesterday, I was also on LinkedIn and I came across an amazing, courageous leader. Her name is, I believe, if I'm saying it right, it's Lena Yousefi. And she's the CEO of something called Y Law up in Canada, which is a family law practice. And there's a photo of her in pain in her work clothes talking about how she's 2 months pregnant with twins and the extreme amount of nausea, the extreme amount of energy, the depression, just kind of the grit of pregnancy. A lot of people think, oh, the glow of pregnancy. And I know for me, the best thing that one of my friends ever said to me was, look, I love being a mother, but I hated being pregnant because there's a myth and mysticism that being pregnant is amazing. And for some women, it is. And that is fantastic. If that is you, wonderful. But that was not me. That was not my friend. And that is clearly not Lena. And one of the things she talks about is that Lena talks about is there's no maternity leave given during the first trimester when you are creating life, when you are making something in your body. Do you know the amount of resources that your body takes from your mind and from your physicality to create that life? It is exhausting, it is draining, and I know for me, it was disconcerting. I was used to just pushing it, to just driving it, to just continuing to push forward, and suddenly my body was saying, "Nope." And for me, that nausea was pretty much present 24/7, and I threw up almost every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And I remember talking to my boss, pulled me in for a performance conversation. And she said, and that she was a new boss to me. And she's like, you're not really pushing it hard. Um, I expected 24-hour turnaround with emails, and I was giving it maybe 36 hours. Um, and she's like, and 24 hours is the max. I really want it in 12. And I said, I hear you, but I need you to know, like, I am nauseous 24/7. It's hard for me to eat. It's hard for me to sleep. I'm having all of these physical symptoms. And she was just stone faced. Sorry, this is the work. Can you do the work? If not, then go get yourself a doctor's note. Well, it was too early. My There was no need for a bed rest or anything like that. I still had a lot of gas in the tank. I was just needing a little more time and grace. And so, because this was new, I was not used to not being an overachiever. I was not used to having performance conversations that were like, you're not doing enough. And so, my inner perfectionist, my inner imposter, my inner, all of my fears were starting to become realized. And I was like, okay, I have to override this. Whatever my body is doing, I just need to override it and keep going. And so I did. And then in the evenings, um, as soon as I would get home, I would pay the consequences. I remember being on my knees, vomiting so violently, to where it was nothing but bile coming up and the rawness in my throat. I remember it was the first time I had ever lost bladder control. Sorry for the too much information. But there is nothing that makes you question your life like sitting in a puddle of piss and vinegar and vomit, not piss and vinegar, piss and vomit. That makes you go, what am I doing? Am I putting my baby at risk? Will I miscarry? What's happening? These are the choices that I was faced with. And so when I went back and talked to my boss and said, look, when I push it hard, I pay, I suffer, because that didn't happen once. That happened multiple, multiple times. Because I was like, I got to find a way to get over this. And there was no room. And so I reached out to HR and said, I don't know, like, this doesn't seem right to me. Like, I'm pregnant, I have a medical condition. And it was like, well, I'm sorry you're not performing at your job, was basically the response. These are the choices that women every single day are faced with. And not just women, men as well, all people. Do you attend the funeral of your loved one? Are you there with them in their final moments? Are you able to take care of your body when you are in need of recovery from illness or injury? And I get it. Work makes everything is work has created an environment where they need everyone cranked up at all times. They can run a razor fine edge around profit and needing people to be at that level at all times. But that is an inhumane policy. That is an inhumane structure. That is an inhumane system that people are making decisions around. And so I do believe that we can stay on the cutting edge of innovation. We can stay on the cutting edge of creativity and drive and have humane policies and practices and systems to support people so that they are not faced with the impossible choice of, do I jeopardize my job, my income, my financial security, or do I carry a baby to term without causing more injury? Or do I recover from my illness? Or do I get to connect with my family member in their dying moments? Why are this is that false choice. Why are we faced with this false choice? It doesn't have to be that way. So, and I I also wrote another article, and I will talk more about it next week, where sometimes we are our own worst enemies. Sometimes our work is not putting that pressure on us, but we are putting that pressure on us. But here's the thing that I will say. Individuals tend to put more pressure on themselves to perform when they are in a work culture that feeds that kind of pressure, that doesn't give grace, that is always like, I know you said you would return this in 24 hours, but I really meant 12 hours. And so you returning this in 24 hours is actually late, even though we told you it was on time. If you work in a culture that is like that, then you will be harder on yourself. If you work in a culture that really stands by the humanity of their employees, then you will also have a little more grace. If you have a manager like mine who had no compassion for anyone who was ever underperforming in any way possible, no matter what the reason, then you will have stronger feelings of imposter syndrome. You will have more self doubt. You will be debilitated more often than not than if you have a manager who's like, I get it. I understand. I still need this, but how can I support you? How can you still meet the line, but also accommodate for what it is you need right now? Ah, sometimes we think it has to be either or, and it's not. Thank you all for watching, for tuning in. May you find a workplace environment that supports humanity. And if you are in leadership, may you be a leader who supports the humanity of your most precious asset, which are your colleagues and the people who work with you. If you're watching this on YouTube, welcome, welcome. If you haven't tuned into my YouTube channel, it's brand new. I'm just getting it all started. Feel free to pop on over and subscribe. I will see you all next week. And next week, we will be talking about when we are our own worst enemy. Oh, good stuff. All right. See you next week. Bye bye.